sanctification or sanctifying. Does anybody know what that means? So it means it's an act of becoming holy, which like in a synonym could be like purify. And it means we say holy, but the definition of holy, if you don't want to say it in those religious terms, is really to become the best version of yourself. So it's working towards yourself to be all that you really are. And sometimes that's hard work, And so anyway, marriage, I really truthfully believe, is created for that reason. That's why we have community, but marriage is very, very much sanctifying. And so I want to tell y'all a story, and I want to give y'all some points on what happened and what y'all can do and why I feel like I have a blessed relationship. And I want to share that with y'all because I think that some people can benefit from it. So I am pregnant right now, everyone knows. And anyway, we were at the camp this weekend and I went ride on a fast boat. And my doctor had told me that I can ride on a boat, but just make sure it's not bumpy. So all was fine. I rode on a party barge, that was fine. But then I rode on Mike's brother's boat that was a little bit faster. And not that he was going fast or anything, it was just more rough. And so it's kind of bumpy. The first time I rode it, I was like, oh yeah, I think this is fine. The second time I rode it, it was more of an intense day and it was kind of bumpy. And so I was like, man, I wonder if I'm putting my baby at risk, putting me at risk. So I'm sitting next to Mike and I'm like, man, my doctor said that I shouldn't, I can ride on a boat, but just not if it's bumpy. So I was asking him and I was trying to externally process, do you think this is bumpy? Or what is considered bumpy? What's the comparison? I don't really know, And the way I work is I was just kind of talking to him about it. And the way he works is that he was just like, I think it's fine. I think you're fine. Well, a pregnant woman hearing that kind of comment, I think you're fine. And I guess I was trying to talk with him through it, but he so this is the way I work is I externally process and I want to do it with him. And then sometimes it doesn't make sense until the end because what I'm really looking for is him to talk with me through it, externally process it with me. But I'm different and he's different. So it ends up being where he thinks that I'm repeating myself or asking him the same thing. So anyway, long story short, hearing that comment, I was I felt after the fact, I just felt not cared for, And I know at the end of the day, he cares for me. But in that moment, it was real that I felt like it was very uncaring or very not supportive because I don't know. And I'm just trying to figure it out. And I don't want to put my baby at risk. So we kind of had that. And I could tell that he was aggravated and I was aggravated. So then it just dropped. And then this is what I do. I just stuffed it down there and I kind of got mad. Anyway, the long story of the short is we ended up having to have the discussion and I had to explain to him that this is how it made me feel. It made me feel that I can be a little bit more supported and a little bit more cared for. And so I want to, but this is where our relationship comes in, which is so important that I think that a lot of people don't do. And I'm very fortunate and we're very blessed. So I want to give y'all some points to how you can further better your marriage or your relationship. And the first one is to let your pride go. I think that admit your wrongs or what you could can prevent. I wrote it down, so I'm looking away. But yeah, because for me and him, example, after all it was said and done, I was like, okay, how could I have said it better? Because I didn't feel like I was repeating myself. I felt like I was externally processing. And then and for him, he was like, well, I guess I could have been more compassionate. So we are so open to letting our pride go in the moment. And being able to say this is probably what I could have improved on and this is what I could have done differently to help this situation out. And I think that some people don't do that. I think that they have a lot of pride and they just well, no, you were wrong. I could have said, you did not make me feel cared for, and I'm a pregnant girl, and all I wanted to do was cry, and make him feel bad, which no, I wanted to know. And so I could have done that. Yeah. And then like for him, for example, he could have been like, well, you were asking me 17 times. I don't know what else to tell you, but he came to the point and was like, well, I could have been compassionate. So let your pride go, and admit that you're wrong and what you could do to be better. Number 2, open and honest communication. That is I feel like that is the number one thing in a relationship in general. You have to talk about things. You are two different people. So you have to talk about things. Like I had to be vulnerable and say, this is how it made me feel. And I know at the end of the day, he cares about me. Like there's not a doubt in my mind. But in that moment, it was real that I did not feel cared for by his reactions. And so I had to be vulnerable and be open and honest with him. And whether or not it hurt his feelings or what, I just had to be open and honest. And look, it made us stronger in the end because we had a beautiful conversation. So open and honest communication, second key. Third key, be able to state your needs. This is really important too. Like I had to say, well, like in that moment, I just needed to be like a little bit cared for and comforted for. I think that, yeah, that's really important. And it's hard for us as humans to say like, well, this is what I need, especially people that are like givers like me. It's just like hard to say like, this is what you could do better. And I don't want to hurt his feelings and all that, but it is so important for a relationship. So state your needs and from both ends and work. And the person stating the needs, like if Mike needs something that is hard for me to give because I'm not used to that, that's where selfless comes in. You have to be selfless in a relationship, which is all part of being sanctified, which is all part of being holy, which is all part of being the best version of yourself. It all ties into each other, y'all. Number 4, know what works best for y'all. So like Mike is more at the situation. We were just discussing it and it was kind of getting to the point where it was like not really going anywhere because he couldn't understand what I was saying. I couldn't understand. And we kind of do that. But if we ever like take a break from it, like we realize, okay, this is not going and we come back to it, like he gets to clear his head. I get to clear my head. I think we end up having like a beautiful conversation like we did. So sometimes it's best in the moment if it's not going anywhere and it just ends up being heated, then just say, okay, I see that you're heated right now and I'm getting heated. I don't think it's a good time. We're gonna address this again after. We both can chill because I think that a clear heart and a clear head helps. And then that's my main 4 key points. And y'all, listen, this is just for like a tidbit. But just don't, whenever this happens, like we are so blessed because I always say like we have discussions, we don't have arguments, and we really don't. Like we never, I mean, maybe one time I always say like, I said something very unloving to him and I kind of like raised my voice a little bit higher than my normal, but like don't raise your voice. And I hate that I even did that. I never did it again. Don't raise your voices or don't say like ugly words or threats or put them down. Like that just brings so much negativity into a relationship. And words are so strong and important, y'all. And people hold that in their hearts. So when you're in the middle of a discussion and you're trying to help each other grow, it's just never a good idea to bring in just ugly words and threats and curse words and all that. Just talk about it. And if it's not working, come back to it. That's like really important because you'll be able to, in the heat of the moment. And Mike is really good at this. He is like, has a lot of wisdom and is always like, I think it's better when people come back to it sometimes rather than just going off the emotion right there. So anyway, I hope this blessed y'all. This is a longer video. So sorry. Just on my relationship advice. And again, like, to be honest, if I would tell y'all one thing to sum up all the key points, it's like keep God first, because if you have him first, like everything I just said flows under that. So that's really important. I love y'all. I pray y'all have a good Friday. Peace, love, and godly juice. And please subscribe. So sorry for the long message, but I liked it. Love y'all.